So in that same view of challenging and confronting, I think any campaign, if it's not challenging the status quo, if it's not confronting the status quo, it's not going to get the answers. And that is not the kind of campaign that you want to waste your resources, financial, human resources, even, you know, your knowledge and brain capacities in actually running. So you have, to some level, have to touch the raw nerve. And when you do that, you are likely to get either responses or answers, which is fair and fine. I think it's something that we can dissect as well in terms of the answers that you get in terms of challenging and confronting. And I think touching the raw nerve is one of the key things that you have to ask yourself when you are running your campaign, in terms of how challenging and confronting enough is your messaging, is your campaign, so that you can begin to get the answers. And for me, the lesson that I learned, and that I would also want other campaigners to learn, is that you can do it at two levels. With the How Far campaign, the questions that we were asking were raising awareness amongst the public, amongst the citizens, such that more questions were coming around accountability at different levels and coming from the citizens themselves. So the urgency and the action was looming when you look at the questions and the excitement and the responses that we were getting from the public to the campaign, them, you know, catching up to the campaign. But there was also the issue of not accusing government, but asking them questions and holding them accountable to the promises that they had made in the previous election, that they had made along the way in terms of accountability, dealing with corruption, public service delivery, you know, and being answerable to the people, or to the voice of the people, as they had promised. So asking them on their own questions and promises meant that they could not afford to just ignore the campaign. They had to answer to the campaign. If they did not answer to the campaign, what it meant was that they still knew that if people are watching in terms of how we are governing and how we are doing our politics and providing, you know, giving in to the voice of the people. So I think that the fact that they knew that the citizens were not just idle and not asking questions was now out of the question. The campaign was very clear in terms of the citizens know what is happening, they know your promises, and you have to answer to these promises. That kind of touched the nerve, and then you're being held accountable to what you promised, meant that we were going to get some either answers or responses at some level. And that is what we saw happening. Many campaigns from government came in, and we were happy with that. It showed that it was a campaign that could not be ignored at that level. The masses were rising up with questions, and they demanded answers, and they would not stop asking the question until at least a response or an answer had come. And if they had decided to keep quiet, it would have also meant that it's a response to us. It's an answer, actually a loaded answer in terms of what they are doing. So they could not afford to keep quiet. So conversations and discussions started at different levels, and that was very important. But maybe to just also pick it up on the issue of legality, but touching as well on safety and security. I think every campaigner, if you're running an accountability campaign, a confrontational, a campaign that is challenging the status quo, your security and your safety become under threat, and you need to deal with that. Your personal security, your family, your colleagues, even at the institutional level, you have to protect the safety and the security of all the different pieces that will be contributing to the campaign, because it's challenging and it's confrontational. It can get a response that is very violent. For us, seeing a billboard banned was very violent, and it could show that even, someone could die if people are prepared to burn a question or to vandalize a billboard. That would mean that anything is very possible as you challenge and as you confront. So personal security comes in very, very important as part of the puzzle in terms of your challenging and your confronting. And it's not only the campaign lead that you have to deal with when it comes to safety and security. We said we had ambassadors at community level, we had allies at community level whose personal security and safety were also under threat and had to be dealt with. So you need a plan around your safety and security of the institution, but of individuals and persons that will be part of the campaign. I know that in challenging and confronting, we're in different social media platforms, and at one point I started receiving some very worrying videos that to me, when I was reading in between the lines, I could pick that this is kind of really threatening. I had video clips, GIFs that had, say, dogs mauling on an individual until they're dead, or it's at a gravesite, and all this. I think I received like 2 videos like that, and for me it showed that we had touched the raw nerve, we had pushed the boundaries, but it also meant we had to be alive to the safety and security of the individuals around the campaign. So I think it's one of the key things that we have to consider in running any campaign that is confrontational, that is challenging, but you have to get the answers and touch the raw nerve.